Sports Radio 94, WIP, Steve Treveliese. The Triller Fight Club on April 17th, boxing card in Atlanta has just added former world champion Steve Cunningham to the undercard versus Frank Mir. Now, Cunningham, 29-9-1. He's the former IBF title holder from Philadelphia, one of the most durable and difficult veteran boxers today. He began his professional career in 2000 with a 19-fight winning streak before taking the IBF Cruiserweight title from Krzysztof Wlodarczyk in 2007. He regained the IBF Cruiserweight title with a fifth-round stoppage on cuts on Troy Ross in 2010, and is best known for the hard-fought heavyweight loss to Tyson Fury in 2013, a fight which Fury called the toughest of his career. And Cunningham is with me now. Steve, how are you?
Doing great, man. Doing great. Preparing, finishing touches on this short notice camp, but it's going to be good.
All right, now, you haven't fought since 2017. You're 44 years old. Why are you doing this? Why are you fighting again?
Well, the reason I'm fighting is, I never really retired. I took time off after my last fight in 2017 to open my gym, USS Fight Academy in Pittsburgh, and, get my my amateur boxing team, USS Fight Academy, going. So I took, we took about that year off. And then decided to, I always was like, all right, I'm going to come back, finish out my career, on my terms. And I want to do a couple more fights. So, also boxing is, the relationship with boxing, it's like we're married to boxing, I'm married to boxing. I've been married to boxing. There's times when my wife can tell you I kind of chose boxing over her, which made me sad, but I didn't know at the time, but you have a relationship with boxing, and it's sometimes it's a love-hate relationship, but I love it. I've still got that fire in me. I still feel like I'm put on good performances, but I do understand my place. It is time to retire. So one fight, two fights, and I'm done. I have my son Steve Jr., who is number 5 in the country right now as an amateur. He'll carry the torch, the USS torch, and I have a 10-year-old who's a 2-time national champ. It's coming up the line too, so I'm ready to retire, but I still got that fire. I gotta feed.
Yeah, okay, I hear that. And then the next fight, all right, one more fight, and then the next fight, one more fight. One of those guys, huh? You were in the Navy from 1994 to 98. You were on aircraft carriers, right? You were the USS Cunningham, from what people were saying about you. And you started boxing at 19. That's another thing. Being in the Navy, you're set for life. You're in a really good situation, yet it burns bright inside your heart. How do you think you're going to do versus Frank Mir?
I think this fight poses its unique challenges, no doubt. You have a 2-time UFC champion in Frank Mir, rough, durable guy. Of course, he's a takedown submission guy, but he's big. 250, 260, 270, 6'3", about the same height.
Right.
And he knows how to push. He knows how to fight. He knows how to get in there and rumble and make it a fight. So the challenge is, for me, is just to keep it the way I want to keep it. I can fight inside and outside. It just depends on what I choose to do. But I figure, I'm getting there. My thing is, I never say, "Oh, I'm most definitely going to go beat this guy," because anything can happen in boxing. Anything can happen. One punch and the lights is out, or you're looking up at the lights. So I just say, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to stick to the game plan that my trainer's given me, and from there, we work around everything else, but still be dominant. That's the goal.
Yeah, like Mike Tyson says, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth, right?
Totally. That's the truth.
What got you into boxing?
Growing up in Philadelphia, it's like Philadelphia is like it's like the DNA of Philadelphia is boxing, part of it.
Oh, yeah.
Especially back then, back in the 80s, when I was coming up as a kid, everybody, this is before, everybody was carrying guns and all of this extra super thug stuff. It was people would fight, square off and fight. And there were rec centers with boxing gyms in it everywhere in Philly, 3 to a neighborhood. So everybody kind of knew something about boxing or had a family member that boxed and showed them something. So, but, you know, me growing up, moving around after my mom and dad separated, I had to go to different schools, different neighborhoods. About every other year we moved, and I got bullied. I got picked on, you know, a new kid on the block. So there's one time I just decided, you know, hey, I'm sick of getting beat up. You know, I have to go to school, so I'm just going to fight back. They're beating me up anyway. They beat me up when I'm not fighting back, so I'm like, I might as well just at least get some licks in. And I ended up beating the guys up who were jumping. And that's when I'm like, yo, I can do this. So from there, I just kind of started working out with a guy here and there. But I did just like fights. You know, I just like fighting. So if a fight came to me, out in the street or at school, I'd take it, no doubt. But I didn't get a chance to get to a boxing gym. Actually, I did. I got to a boxing gym when I was about 16, like a year before I joined the Navy.
Right.
This is the boxing gym that David Reed came out of, 26 and Masters. And me and a friend, we go there. I'm like, finally, I get to train. You know, I was dying to like really train and learn. I'm in this gym. Gym is wall to wall kids. There's like 4 kids per bag. There's that many kids in there, and the trainer's like, hit the bag. And he just kept telling us, just hit the bag. You know, we go in there 3 days in a row, hit the bag, hit the bag. So the 4th day, I was like, man, if this dude don't teach me something, I'm leaving. And we went in there, and he was like, hit the bag. I was like, I'm out of here. And I left. And from there, I joined the Navy a year later. But I still had that. I had this desire, this urge, this inclination about boxing in me. And the Navy recruiter was like, listen, you know, what's your hobbies? You know, I told him art and boxing, and he was like, man, the Navy has a boxing team. Ended up joining, you know, once I got in, I found that the Navy boxing team was stationed about 15 minutes away from where my base was. So I would go over there and train with them. And from there, I got my first fight against the light heavyweight champ of the Navy in all actuality.
Of all people to have your first fight against, right? Thanks a lot.
Yeah. He had. I was trained by a crazy guy who I love, man. Crazy Marine officer, Major Hanson at the time. He was a major then. I think he retired as a colonel, but he crazy guy, man. He trained me for a while, and then he comes up to me one day. He's like, Cunningham, I got you a fight, and I'm like, great. And he's like, you're fighting Israel Spencer, who everybody knew at the time he was the light heavyweight champ of the Navy. But I didn't care because I've been training for about a year, and I'm like, hey, I don't care, let's go. I just want to get in there and feel it. Paul, and he said I had to tell him you had 10 fights and 10 knockouts just to get you, in order to get you to fight. So I was like, all right, cool, man. I go in there and I fight the guy, and we fight tooth and nail, and I just outdo him, and I get the decision. And that was it. From there, the Navy boxing team coach gave me an application for the Navy boxing team, and I joined. And that started the boxing tour.
You know, it's amazing what you say. Like in the very beginning in the neighborhood, I just wanted to get some hits in, and that's the way it starts. And then you like the sport, and you really, you know, the bug bites, so to speak. I got to ask you this. You grew up in Philadelphia, boxing in the 80s, and the Rocky movies are out. Did they have any meaning? Did they have any effect on you at all?
To me, the Rocky movies, they had an effect on me before I started boxing. Once after I started boxing and getting fights, then I'm like, oh, hold up. That fight would have been stopped.
Well, yeah, I got to ask you this. You're a boxer, man. You know, he's no way Rocky fights like that. Just keep hitting me in the head till I hit your back.
Bro. No way. That's what I said. I'm like, after I've been fighting and I'm like, and I watch a Rocky movie, I'm like, oh, man, this fight. I mean, the Rocky movies were great. Don't get me twisted. Those movies are very inspirational and motivational. Shoot, I heard David Reed, former world champion and gold medalist, Olympian. He started boxing because of a Rocky movie. So, you know, Rocky movies are great. It's just when I started boxing and understanding boxing, I was like, hey, hold up. That fight with so-and-so, they wouldn't have let him take that many punches. You know, they'd have been stopped it. But my favorite Rocky movie is Rocky 3.
Oh, 3?
Like Drago.
Okay. No, Drago was 4.
Is that Drago?
Drago was 4. Clubber Lang was 3.
Yeah. All right, 4. So it's 4. when he fought Drago, the thing that I really liked about Part 4 was when he went away to go train, like, in the woods and the wilderness and just by himself, secluded. And he's doing all of these, just makeshift things to make you stronger. And then you have Drago that's got all this technology. And that I love it. And really, I love training camp, It's the same. It's like breaking your body. It's just you're building yourself. So that's my favorite Rocky movie.
I happened to be watching Rocky 2 last Saturday. HBO ran it, and I'm watching it, and I'm thinking to myself, there's no way. There's no way that these two, somebody just got to get up. It's like, wait.
Right.
Because the way, that whole style of, just keep hitting me in the head until he would have been dead by now. And then at 62 years old, he fights a 33-year-old guy. And again, I love Rocky, but as far as you're concerned, Steve Cunningham, who's fighting on April the 17th in the Triller Fight Club, what's the boxing movie that does it for you? Like, of all the fight movies you watch, what's the one that you would say, this is pretty much accurate as to the way it really is?
Oh, man. I think Raging Bull.
Really?
Yeah, I think Raging Bull. I mean, watching that as a young man and as a young fighter, it was interesting, old school, I'm kind of into that. I think Raging Bull does it for me,
I'm surprised that didn't make you want to quit boxing.
They do a great job of pulling you in emotionally and stuff. Those are things that tie me in, get me to be like, all right, yeah, a little deepness to me under the cover.
That's the Jake LaMotta story. The Rocky Graziano story is pretty good with Paul Newman. Yep. Somebody up there likes me. That's an old one. But
I heard about that. I haven't seen that one yet.
I think that was Paul Newman's second movie. And he was the guy they got when they couldn't get the guy they wanted, if I'm not mistaken. But it's a really good movie. But now, when you get to the Navy, and, having gone through the Navy experience, what has the Navy taught you in regard to just the strategy and the discipline for fighting?
The major thing that I took from the Navy into my boxing was the basically the work ethic. Like joining the Navy at age 18 from the hood. It's a completely different, I mean, for anybody from the suburbs or whatever, but it's just different, it's different attitudes. You have to, you've got these guys yelling at you, and you still got to stay quiet and listen and do what they say. So it made like the job at hand. It made me focus more on the job at hand. What's the job at hand? It has to get done. Not that it has to get done. You have to do it, and you can. And it's like, what? It's like, I can, and you better get this done by lunch, and you better, and we get it done. So I've taken that from the Navy into my training camps, into my training, like, I can do this. I can be a world champion, There's nothing, and it has to get done, and I have to do it. That's the same mindset, and I just take that drive, that determination, and that will and knowing that you can do it. If that guy can do it, you can do it. So the Navy really helped me with a lot with conditioning, pushing through. Because in boot camp, there's a lot of stuff that you're doing that you didn't think you would be able to do. They push your limits beyond what the limits you had. So that just opened up a whole field of push for me, and I've taken that into my professional amateur career.
Now, you take that into 19 straight winning fights, and now you're going for the Cruiserweight against Wlodarczyk. And here's this kid thinking, I just want to get a few licks in the very beginning. And now, here you are fighting for the title. Give me, you're in the ring. What is your mindset? What is going on as this is happening?
It's because I fought him in his home country, Poland. So it was a bit, weird. Just being in, I don't know the weird fits are just different. It was uncomfortably different, and not having anybody in the stands, for me except my wife, who was my manager, and that was it. It was uncomfortable. It was very uncomfortable, but I focused and just sat down. And what's going through my mind is, sitting down on my punches, but still staying agile and moving because, the guy's a hard hitter. We knew the judges was in his pocket. So, just because it's a home country, they really look out for each other. And just box. Just simply box. Don't give them nothing. If I give them something, take it back. And that was the mindset.
And you gave Tyson Fury the toughest fight of his career in his words. What was it like being in that ring? That reminds me of Rocky and Apollo Creed. Here you are. What was that like?
That fight in itself, see, people have to realize that was before Tyson Fury became Tyson Fury, to everybody.
Right.
I think my fight with Fury made him Fury, the one that everybody's like, oh. So,
you put the Fury in
being
Fury.
in the ring with him, I'm sorry, say it again?
You put the Fury in Fury.
Oh, man, I don't know if I'd say that, but hey, okay, I'll take it if they say it.
I'll say it.
But being in the ring with him, it was, in my mindset, especially, being trained by the late, great brother Nazem, the mindset was, we can beat him. We're going to beat him. There's no problem. He's just big. This is boxing. This isn't, lifting weights or no. This is boxing. So we got in there. We had a game plan, and we utilized it up until Fury started, using his weight in order to gain an advantage, which was, hey, like my trainer said, I'd have did the same thing. If you beat me up, I'd have did the same thing. He's like, he did what I'd have did. It's just up to the referee to say, hey, and the ref took points, but, the fight ended the way it ended. But my mindset was keep going. I'm going to get him, especially after that knockdown in the second round. I'm like, oh, I can get him. I can really get him. And I wanted to get him. I wanted to, win big because America was looking for someone to fight Vladimir, the heavyweight champion. And I was like, man, if I beat this big guy, then they'll know I can contest with Vladimir. And that was the goal. That was going through my mind, winning at all costs.
How about that? You've got so many fans in Philadelphia. You got so much love from this city, Steve Cunningham. All right, give me your best Philadelphia fight story. Be it a neighborhood Philadelphia fight story, but your best Philadelphia fight story that people are going to call me after this interview and go, oh, man, you talked to Steve Cunningham? I remember that guy.
Okay, best fight story is way before I started boxing as a professional. I got into an argument with these guys on the next street over. And these guys, they're older than me, but they were like smaller than me, much smaller than me.
Right.
And, but these guys, they had a lot of mouth. And because they had a lot of friends and, they had a lot of people behind them. So, but I was just at the point to where I wasn't taking their lip anymore, so we kind of had words and, they're like, I'm going to get my cousin for you. So they go get this cousin. And I'm like, at first I'm like, yeah, I don't care. Go get whoever, whatever. Uh-huh. They go bring this guy who's like, looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger. This dude is so muscular. and I'm about 15 years old now. This guy is massive. I'm 15, probably 150 wet. Uh-huh. About 5'10", 5'11". This guy's like seriously 6'1", muscular. And I'm like, oh my goodness. He takes his shirt off and he's like, I just kind of start like walking around the car to avoid him. Like, yo, man, I don't have no beef with you, man. I got beef with them. He's like, nah, you got to fight me. You got to fight me. That's my cousin. And it's like it was one of them summer nights where everybody was out. Like the whole neighborhood was out watching us. Uh-huh. And one of the guys who was like the OG of the neighborhood, he came over to me and was like, listen. He said, man, listen. He said, you beat up these guys out here. People see you fight and win. He was like, but now you running around the car trying to avoid from this guy. He's like, you can't do that. That's going to make you look really bad. He said, you got to fight him no matter if you win or lose. He said, but you got to fight him, man. Right. And I looked him in his eyes, and he was right. That was going to mess up my whole respect and reputation in the neighborhood. So
sure. I
just sucked it up and said, all right, I'm going to do it. And, man, we got out there, and I just started tattooing this guy. Pop, 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 pop. Oh, man, I beat the snot out of him. And I hit him one time, and he fell, and he jumped up and was like, oh, my wrist, I got to go home. And he just, oh. And I felt like I just won a world title, man. The whole neighborhood saw me. It was nuts, man.
That's the best.
Unbelievable.
That is great. Oh, man, Steve Cunningham, the Triller Fight Club, April 17th. It's going to be you versus Frank Mir. Best of luck. Just make sure he's that guy from the neighborhood and let him know it's Steve-O. Hey, man.
That's the goal.
Best of luck, my friend. Thanks so much for coming on.
All right. Thank you for having me. Peace.
Got it. Sports Radio 94, WIP.